Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Jensen, the Mom Ambassador Liaison here at Moms Meet. Thank you for joining us today for our live Bob's Red Mill webinar where you'll get your questions answered by Bob Moore, the founder, president, and CEO of Bob's Red Mill, and Matt Cox, the marketing director of Bob's Red Mill. Today's webinar will entirely be a Q&A session, so if you have any questions, please be sure to type them into the chat window. With that said, the first question we have is, how did you get into making gluten-free foods?
Well, I guess that's a question for me. Hi, I'm Bob Moore, and I can remember quite clearly that we had a group in Seattle, this was probably 25 years ago, that called GIG, Gluten Intolerance Group, and they came to me and asked me certain questions about my products and how they were separate and how I could possibly ensure them that for that time of history that we could make them as gluten-free as possible. And we struggled with this. Our first efforts were made to locate xanthan gum, which is, of course, a replacement for gluten. And I found that at Kelco in San Diego, and I was able to slowly but surely start out with some gluten-free offerings in my mill many years ago. And, of course, our gluten-free now is in a separate building. All of our production capacity and everything is all separate, and we now do almost 55 or 60% of our business, Bob's Red Mill business, is in gluten-free. So we're totally dedicated. And then the big crux of the whole thing was when we hired a cereal chemist who could help us to build a lab to test gluten-free. And all gluten-free products through our facilities are tested several times as they pass through and then as they go into the bags and into the store. So we're really dedicated to gluten-free, and it's been a long time commitment with my people and of course myself. So thanks for that question. I'm sorry to give me such a long answer.
Oh no, thank you for going into detail on that. Can you tell us a little more about this new great gluten-free pie crust mix that some of our moms are sampling?
Well, one thing I am is a miller, one thing I'm not is a baker. So Matt Cox, our vice president in charge of marketing, was instrumental in energizing our programs around here to create this wonderful pie crust mix. And so I'm going to let Matt tell you a little about the gluten-free pie crust mix. Matt?
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, it's been, a long frustration for people who are on a gluten-free diet to make baked goods, especially during the holiday time. You need bread, you need dinner rolls, you need especially pies, pie crust. It's the ubiquitous food. It's a celebration dish. And what we noticed just a couple of years ago, we were looking at the website traffic at we have like 2,000 recipes on our site, and we were looking at where people were going during the holiday time, just because we enjoy that. And what we saw were people just flooding to this recipe for a great recipe that we have for a gluten-free pie crust mix. It's the easiest pie crust mix recipe on our website. So thousands of people going to this single recipe, and then those very same people were calling us trying to find, where do I get the xanthan gum? Where do I get the sweet white rice flour? Where do I get these ingredients? And okay, ingredients now, but it's kind of sticky, and I'm having a hard time rolling it out. What can you help me with this? So we knew that there were some things that we could do to create a simple, all-natural, gluten-free pie crust mix, really easy to make with all the ingredients combined and affordable. People can do these out for the holiday. So that's
Matt,
what we did.
I love the way you've done the bag. This is one of the most unique. We have 400 over products, and I think this bag and the design on the bag, which Matt and his people put together, is one of the best we've ever done, and I'm very proud of it. It's a cool looking, and it certainly makes it very easy. Matt, even I think I could do this. You know that? I'd rather watch you do it, though. So anyway.
Yeah, well, making a pie is, as I discovered in this process, because all of us on the team, from people who just do like clerical accounting kind of stuff on the team to, our bakers, all of us were making pies every day, just pie after pie after pie, just as we were developing this. And we have real scientific folks like Chef Sarah, who works here in the kitchen, and the people in our lab. But the rest of us, regular people like me, who are pretty good in the kitchen, but I'm kind of average, average skill
You're
level.
good in the kitchen.
But we all
We
needed this to work well and to be easy and predictable, and so we made, I think we made 100 pies.
I think we did. I
Over
think I
over
ate
the
that
summer. It was like the summer of pie here at Bob's
That was
Red Mill. And
wonderful.
we made an apple. Apple was our control, so we made apple pie after apple pie, and it's really pretty simple. Once you get and you've done it a few times and you get that confidence, I think that's the problem with most people who resort to a pre-baked pie crust or something that's already done, or a store-bought pie. They haven't really taken the time to just roll it out and see that it's not that difficult. And we've done gluten-free pies. The pie crust dough does tend to have a little more sticky consistency than a wheat flour pie crust. So we found that, well, I'm going to make one today.
Why don't you do it, man?
I'm going to do that, and just to show that like an office guy like me can make this pie, so everyone else should be able to do it as well. So I'm going to get started. I have one bag of mix, I have some water, and I have my fat. I have butter, and I have shortening, and I have butter, and I have a pie pan, which everyone should have at home, and I just have some ice water. I have a pastry cutter. You can use a food processor if you want. A spoon for stirring, bowl, oven, this, and I have
and a scissor. That's
and
for me. I'm doing the
and I have a rolling pin.
Oh yes, a rolling pin. Oh yes,
fundamental.
I could go look for that.
Somewhere that's here.
Yes,
but it's in the drawer over here.
Okay.
So I'm going to get started. So yeah, it's really simple. The first step is the most basic of all, and that is just taking the whole package of the pie mix and dumping it into the bowl, just like that. And I mean, that's it. Then the next step is to take your fat, which we have butter, and yeah, there's actually quite a bit of. We just kind of went with a French standard for the amount of butter here. It was anywhere from like 12 to 20 tablespoons for a good pie, and it seemed like that there was more was better, up to 20 tablespoons. And so it's pie. It's going to have some fat in it. Look, we're not saying you should eat this for every meal of the day like our other basic whole grain foods, but this is a treat. This is for occasions. This is for celebrating. So make it fatty, make it fun, make it delicious, and that'll make it flaky. So we have butter, which is 12 tablespoons of butter and 8 tablespoons of shortening. This is Spectrum non-GMO, non-hydrogenated. It's great. And you can use, if you don't have both, it's okay. You can go ahead and use 20 tablespoons of butter or 20 tablespoons of shortening. If you have Crisco at home, we're not going to be mad at you about that. Go ahead, just use it. It's a great product. So what do you do? You just put your butter in and you start cutting it in. And this is the part that I always was like, I can't do this. This sounds way too complicated to make little tiny flour-coated crumbles of butter in my flour. That just seems like that's fancy French chef stuff, but it's really simple. You just take one of these and just go to town on it until they're all little pea-sized bits, and that's that.
I'm watching you, man.
I'm going to get going. Well, I mean, what more can we say? It's a
I don't know. It's pretty simple.
How do you make?
Just put it together and make pies.
Yeah.
Oh, there.
All right, we actually have another question about the pie mix, if you want to answer that while you're stirring there. So Jessica is wondering, or she has a comment and a question. She says it's the gluten-free pie crust mix is amazing. She loves it. But she's also wondering, what are some other uses for it? She's wondering how versatile it is. What can you make besides pie with it?
Well, I don't know, Matt. What other uses do we have for this mix?
Well, anything that you would use a pastry dough for. So a pot pie or some kind of hand pie or a turnover.
Yes.
We've made a, I don't know, can I say the brand name? It's like, it's
He's going to say it.
like Pop-Tart. There, I said it. We've made some Pop-Tarts out of it. And you
Gluten-free.
just take little squares of it. It's great because you don't have to roll it out and be really delicate. You just cut squares and you put your favorite filling in there and then put another piece on top of that, crimp the edges. And
She put
it's a blast.
strawberry jam in them, and we ate them around here. There was a story around here that she made about 50 of them for a show she was going to do, and she forgot to say anything to the family, and her son came in and ate half of them, and like at midnight. When she came down the next morning to take them with her, she only ate half as many. So if you're going to do something like that, be sure to tell the family, especially if it's up for somebody else, to don't tell the family not to eat them because they're really good. And they were done with this mix. Very simple. We ate them around here for days.
Yeah, and that's our sales rep in the Midwest region. So getting ready for her sales calls the next day to go out and call on all the great natural food stores in the Midwest region. Woke up and they're ravaged, and there's her teenage son sleeping on the couch. So that's what we're doing together, and that's what it was. But you can make empanadas. I mean, we've made cookies out of this. You can just roll the dough out and use your cookie cutter to make some great holiday or Christmas cookies.
Sugar cookies.
It's a really wonderful thing. So savory or
Good
sweet.
question.
Yeah, that's a terrific question. Thank you.
Okay, great. We have a question for Bob, who Mom Ambassador is wondering, how involved are you in the company? Do you work at the facility every day, or what's a typical day like for you?
Oh, I love my days. You know what? I have 325 people here, and they do their job so well they don't need me. But I have to make myself needed. So I come to work every day. I work a good 40 hours a week. I also do trade shows. And when we do trade shows, I'll work sometimes 2 weeks without a day off. So even at my advanced age, the stimulation around here is incredible for me. It's just elevating. And my energy level when I walk in the door, it just comes up, and I love every minute of it. I am still president and CEO of the company, although we have an ESOP, an employee stock ownership, and that is in the process of turning the ownership of the company to our wonderful employees. But at this point in time, I still am president, and I try to run the company as a president should. I lead over meetings and guide the company in the direction that I feel that it should go in, that I have been directing my company for the last 41 years that I've been doing this. So I love my days, I love my people, and it's the environment around here is one of the nicest and happiest that anyone could ever possibly know. We also, incidentally, we have tours of our facility, so I know the folks that are there watching are probably in all parts of the country, but if you're ever in Portland, Oregon, we do give tours of our facility every day. And I think that in most cases, like this morning, I went down and greeted 30 or 40 people that had come for the tour. So I try to be a part of the business every day of my life, and I love it. I'm so happy that I'm able to continue to do this even into my advanced age of 85. So anyhow, I think that's the answer to your question.
Great. Thank you for sharing.
How are we doing over here?
We're doing great. Okay, look, it was that fast. I just used this and I pulverized it. And if you have a food processor, you just stick all your ingredients in there and you just pulse it. Like 10 1-second pulses should be enough. Ready to go. The next thing is to use some ice water. And you don't use very much. This only needs 6 to 8 tablespoons. I go 8 just because that seems to make it easier for me to roll it out. But 6, if you're you just have to feel it out and see what's working. Start with 6, work your way to 8 if you have to. But this is the tricky thing, because I think if you sometimes 8 doesn't seem like it's enough, but it is enough. You don't want to add too much water because you're going to end up with tough dough that isn't flaky, and that's no fun for anyone.
No.
But cold water is important, and I never knew why, but it's I figured it out in this whole pie making adventure, and that is that we chilled the butter, and that keeps it cold, and that keeps these little globules of butter that we've chopped up here. It keeps them discreet, and it keeps them separate from all the other the flour granules. And ultimately, if we can keep it that way and not get this dough hot, then we will wind up with layers of fat and flour, and that's what makes the flavor.
Okay,
So
that's a good explanation.
it's important.
I did not know that.
So I'm going to go ahead and just sprinkle 6 tablespoons of water in here, and then I'm going to mix it up.
Well,
So while I'm doing that,
is there any other questions?
Yes, we have a few questions. Same question coming in a lot. And how do you get ideas for new products?
Oh, well, this guy over here is the one that takes our ideas for new products and creates them himself. And so, especially in gluten-free, where we have a wonderful. My son happens to be part of that manufacturer for gluten-free granolas, and we have 2 gluten-free granolas that should be on the market. What do you think, Matt? I mean, it's coming right along, isn't it? The development of them?
Coming out in January.
That'll be one of the next things, is 2 gluten-free granolas that we think are just, we've all had plenty of opportunity to test them around here, and we just love them. And so that's something. Matt, what else you working on?
Well, you know what, I think it all goes back to what you were saying about how we got into gluten-free to begin with. We started with a mill, and Bob just got into this thing for fun. I mean, originally it was a passion. He got into milling and into whole grains, and he wanted to have the world's greatest variety of grains. So our store had, he was milling everything from rice flour and corn flour to wheat flour, everything. But the variety that we had naturally made a lot of those, that variety included intrinsically gluten-free grains. So we had people from the gluten-free community, which was quite small, and it didn't have the trendiness that it does now. It was very strictly people with celiac disease or gluten intolerance. And they were very vocal, and they would come to us and say, I love your rice flour, but hey, you need to separate that from the wheat flour. You need to put that in a separate space. Here's why. And they tell us all about how important it was. So we separated it. Then they said, but you got to label it so we know it's gluten-free when we find it in your store at Fred Meyer or Kroger or wherever. So we just kept that dialogue going all these years, and we just listen to what they're saying. They write us. We talk to them on our phone. We have an amazing customer service team, and that's really where it comes from. We don't really do a whole lot of fancy market research. We think the best comes out of just conversations and hearing the frustration that people have with foods and hearing what they like to eat and enjoy, and then we use our intuition, our guts, and
well, actually, too, Matt, when the government began to look at gluten-free as something they would want to be part of and control, Matt and his boss, Denny Gillum, my partner, they went to Washington, D.C., and were instrumental in working with our government and other members of this whole gluten-free organization to help with passing the laws for gluten-free, which are very important to us. And in fact, our government just recently cemented the final law, and we've been dealing with ourselves here for many, many years. It really didn't change anything around here. It just put a legality to this whole program, which we have actually honored for many years.
Finally, like 10 years later, it goes into
governments
effect.
work slow.
Yes, they do, and it's a complicated
we're very pleased
issue.
for the specifications that the government has given us, which we've always followed. And as I say, Matt and Denny, we're also a part of working through all of these rules and regulations with the government. So.
Well, fortunately, yeah, we had a chance to see the way things were going, and we knew that 20 parts per million was going to be the ceiling, or it looked like it was going to be the maximum. So we went ahead and just adopted that as our standard here anyway. And as it turns out, that is in fact the the government standard,
Well,
and
that's
so
what they established.
we and in our lab we test every product, including this one. Everything that comes in here is tested. The raw ingredients are tested when they come in, and we have I mean, even before that, the most important work for a gluten-free company is to work with your suppliers or the people on the farm.
Oh, absolutely. It goes right down to the growers in all aspects of dealing with gluten.
If they know, if your supplier knows that who your customers are and what's important to you, and you specify it in your agreement with them, that hey, I can't have this touching anything that's been in contact with gluten, then the containers they put it in, the equipment they use, the farm equipment, the storage tanks, all that, they can adjust that to help prevent cross-contact way upstream. But once we get it here, we test it to verify that has worked. And if it's clean, then it goes into our mill room, and we mill it. And then we test it again. If it's still good to go, then we go ahead and package it. And we finally test it again, and if it's good there, then that's when we actually ship the product off to our customers, and we feel great about that. And if anything doesn't pass, then it's out of here. It goes back to right back to the farm or out to feed animals or something else, but we just don't serve it. So that's our standard.
Is there another question or two? How long are you going to be, man?
Okay, well, I have it mixed up here, and what you typically do here
Takes
is
forever. I'm waiting for pie.
I mix it up and I form it into a ball, and then you wrap it in plastic and you make like a disc out of that, and then you put it in the refrigerator, because now you've kind of introduced some heat to it. You've stirred it up, and everything is kind of warm, and you want to keep those butter globules discreet and intact, so you put it in the freezer to chill before you go introducing some more pressure and friction on it with the rolling. And I've already done that. I have one pre-chilled, so I'll just go ahead and do some like kitchen
You're going to
TV
bring
show magic.
over here. We're going to do.
And I have that one there. I'm going to rinse my hands.
There you go. And we have over here. Let's see what he does. See what he does with this.
Are there any other questions coming in?
Well, we got more questions. We could be talking here while Matt's messing around with this. You
Yes,
want
we have.
Yeah, I think it's right in this drawer, or maybe this top drawer here.
And I don't see it in either one. They're in the back. Help.
Here we go.
There it is.
It's right here.
Oh, don't hit me with it.
So what we found out is that it is pretty sticky. The rice flour, which is a great one of the. We have just 5 simple ingredients in this mix, and that's the way we like it at Bob's Red Mill. Just keep it as simple
I could
as
read
possible.
those to you, Matt, if you've forgotten
I
what
bet
they
I
are.
know exactly what they are. We have,
Here we are.
quiz me on it.
Rice
okay?
flour,
Yeah.
potato starch, tapioca flour,
Mhm.
sugar, rice bran, sea salt, and xanthan gum.
That's
Xanthan gum
it.
gives it that texture.
That's exactly right. So
Okay.
we just use plastic, and we just roll it out onto some plastic, and that by sandwiching it between some plastic and then rolling it that way, I think it really helps keep it from sticking to the countertop. I'm going to just use some fresh plastic, because I like to make a big palette, so I can really sprawl out when I'm spreading out my.
Is there any other questions that come to mind?
Yes, we have a question from Melissa, who's just wondering generally where can she find Bob's Red Mill products, and if she can't find them in a local store, can she purchase them online?
Well, I guess you can get them on the line, of course. Amazon.com, we have a whole, actually, if you just go to bobsredmill.com, every question can be answered, and especially where products are. This particular product has only just recently been released, and we had a meeting just yesterday morning about it, and our sales staff, who are represented all over the country, have told us that all of the warehouses, all the distribution warehouses, have now accepted this product. It's just a matter of a little time. I'm not sure what in terms of weeks or months, but a little time before this specific product should be available in virtually all stores throughout the United States. And I will say this much, that it is in the warehouses now, and so that any of you who would like to have it locally probably can just ask the store manager or one of their people if they would get this, and it is not a problem. If it's in their master warehouses, and I believe it is, then they should be able to order a case of this, and they would have it in stock. And so far, the results have shown wonderful sales of this product. We are getting a lot of feedback through our website and whatnot, folks that have tried it and just love it. It's just a great product. I wish I had more to do with it, but I just ran the place while they did the job, did the work. So.
We had a few slices of pie.
Oh, I have had so many pieces of pie in the last month or two while they've been developing this. So this has been a fun project to develop, just partly because of all the good stuff. We're standing in our kitchen here at the plant, and it is ably manned by Sarah House, our in-house chef, and she was one of the developers on maybe the most important developer on this particular project. So we're glad to have such wonderful, capable people in the company, right in the company itself. Any other questions while he's still fooling around here?
Well, I would add, Bob, that
okay.
the product, you'll be able to find it at Kroger stores. You'll be able to find it at all the Whole Foods stores, Wegmans. I guess it would depend on the region, but your favorite supermarket.
Yeah, I think it should be. And if it's not available, ask for it. And of course, get on the website, bobsredmill.com, and just follow the prompts. You won't have any problem locating this product. Any other questions, perhaps?
Okay, great. Yeah, we have a question from a mom ambassador who says she read that you grind your whole grains by using a traditional stone mill, and what's the benefit to doing it that way?
Well, I think the biggest benefit that we have here is we're whole grain. We take the grains themselves and we grind them in a stone mill, slowly grinds, and it amalgamates the bran, the germ, and the endosperm together, and it makes a very unique and incredibly healthful flour. I often take folks into the mill room and I show them the grain, and then I show them the flour that's coming out of the mill. There's no change other than what the grain to the flour, and all the nutrients that are in these wonderful whole grains, whatever they might be, whether it's rice or whether it's corn, whether it's quinoa, whatever those grains are, all of the nutrients and everything are very served with the wonderful stone mills. They grind very cool, and we're just incredibly pleased. We have 22 mills running 24 hours a day, and I walk the plant every day and say hi to people, and it's just a great part of my life. But stone grinding, slow, no heat, and amalgamating the grains so that they're a unique, wholesome flour. We really believe in this methodology. 41 years I've been doing this.
Okay, great. Thanks for going into detail on that. We have a question from a mom ambassador, Miranda, who's wondering if you have any words of wisdom for inspiring entrepreneurs or small business owners.
Oh, man. That's a handful there. I give talks on that very subject. In fact, I gave an hour's talk at OSU here just a week ago to a room full of entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs. I don't know whether we really have time enough. It's very difficult to sew up a total philosophy of life. I will say this much, that once one is in business, that success creates responsibility. Responsibility to the community, responsibility to the people within the company who made that success. And that's the wherewithal of our ESOP programs and our profit sharing and all these different things. I don't know how much time we have here. Like I said, I have a talk that lasts an hour long, and it covers all my business philosophies. I have some very specific philosophies about how to run a business, because at my age and at my number of years of being in business, I've pretty much figured out what keeps my people. We have no turnover here. And I would say this much, that once a person has established themselves in business, think of this little bag here as having your meager profits from the success of your business for the past month. And you take those meager profits and you pour that out on the table, and you sort of divide it up, and you say, okay, I need some of these profits to keep the company going, but some of these profits I can give back to the people that have made it possible for me to do this in the first place. And that was my first offering of profit sharing, which it was meager, but I wrote a separate check, and I gave each one of my employees a share of the profits. And I'm 28 years now that I've been doing that, and it is one of the most successful programs. And of course, if you want to be in business, never even think about selling your business out from underneath your employees. One of the terrible things that have given certainly capitalism and business a terrible image is the idea of the owner taking as much money as they can get after they reach a certain degree of success and leaving the company to be whatever it's going to be and have the products made elsewhere. I absolutely do not think that's a good policy, and I think that it's a lousy policy. Don't do it. Give it to your employees. You can't take it with you. There's a good advice. Remember, you can't take anything with you. So that's the best I can do in a couple minutes. But
Oh, those are some great tips. Thank you.
Matt's all part of this, too. A very valuable part. Well, you got something going here, Matt?
Well, yeah, it's all rolled
Look at
out,
this.
just like that. I mean,
Wow.
you can
Magic.
see it's kind of marbled. You can see the
I see it.
butter, the
I
butter
see it.
and the flour, and they're separate. It
Yes.
has a marbly texture, and I'm happy about that because that means we're going to wind up with a flaky. We're making pumpkin pie today because it's almost Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and I always make like half a dozen pumpkin pies at home, so that's what we're going to do today. And it's simple, one crust. So with one of these packages, you can make 2 pumpkin pies in the oven, side by side. Simple. So,
Wait, Matt. This just represents half of this of what you had made. Is that correct?
Well, this actually, yes, this is half a thing.
And the other half is
the other
over
half-
here to the side.
The
Yes,
other half,
got that.
you would separate
Okay,
it
that's
into
for the top or whatever.
separate it into two balls, and then make those into flat discs.
Okay.
Put them in the fridge. So yeah, this is half the package.
All right.
The thing that's great about this plastic rolling out with the plastic wrap is that you just take off the top, and then you have this great application device for you can just move it right onto your,
Is this going to work, Matt?
Oh yeah, it's totally going to work.
Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Look at that.
Oh, look at
There you go.
that. Didn't he do
Just
that?
plop it right in there. No problem.
Matt, I just knew you had that.
Yeah, and
Look at that.
it's quite generous, the mix. So we have a bit of.
There's bound to be a tear somewhere.
No, well, it's never a big deal. You just kind of patch it
Okay.
together. So sometimes I'll trim the edges, sometimes not. I just keep it nice and rustic, and I just start folding the edges around. Maybe use a little water on my fingers. So keep it simple. Keep it really simple. So. We're having a real frustration with making with gluten-free is always and it took a lot of work to develop the recipe, but we have it nailed.
Looks like we lost.
That's a great
okay.
point, because what you can do with these wraps is just take this and you can stick it back on your plastic, roll it out, and then cut that into some cookies, or you can make a small
Tart.
like little hand pie or tart out of that.
Yeah, yeah.
No problem. But we wanted to provide ample product in the mix so that people can, I like to overshoot the edge of the pie, so I have plenty of excess. Nothing frustrates me more than having putting it on there and it's sort of out of joint or lopsided, and then I have to transfer some. I just want a big block, big sheet over the top of the pie pan, and that makes life a lot. I mean, it's holiday time. It's big. Your family's there. It's crazy. You don't need extra frustration. You just need to get this pie cranked out because my aunt has celiac disease, and if I don't have a gluten-free pie or some gluten-free dinner rolls there, so I thought you worked for Bob's Red Mill. Where's my gluten-free pie? So this makes it easy for me. I get these in the oven, and then I can, continue on with the festivities. That easy. I mean, I could make kind of a rough edge on mine, not like Chef Sarah would put like a really beautiful thing, and she's done like lattice top things with our gluten-free pie crust mix and all kinds of wonderful things. But I just keep it really simple. I have some pumpkin pie.
Such a
Batter over here, and just gonna go ahead and it's just like that. I mean, you just go for it. You just pour it in, and that's that. So why don't I just do that?
Yeah, why don't you just do that? Yeah? Look at that.
That's that. I'm just gonna keep it over here, and I'll just leave it here for right now. It's fine. It will go in the oven. We have one in the oven that we're going to enjoy later after the call, but it's that simple. You can brush the edges with a milk or egg wash if you want. I have a great little pie. It depends on your oven and how well it modulates and keeps its temperature, but I have a pie crust like a shield. It's this little thing that you put over the top, and it keeps the crust from burning too soon. But generally, I just, I've had great luck with this mix. I've never burned the edges of my gluten.
Matt, you're just so good.
I'm lucky, and
Yeah.
Well, you got us a nice oven in here too.
All right, so we got it this far. We're pretty well ready to just put this in the oven.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions for us?
Yes, we do. We actually have one in reference to the pie dough. Crystal is wondering if she can make the pie dough and then freeze it for later use.
There you go, Matt. There's
Absolutely.
a great question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good questions.
No problem. Go ahead and make up your dough, divide it into the separate discs, wrap it in plastic, stick it in and put it in like a freezer bag, and yeah, that's
Put it in the freezer.
I think.
How
That's
long do you think you can keep it, Matt?
in the freezer? I have no information. I mean, I would forever, a year. It seems like it would. There's no limit to it.
I know.
It's really,
Somebody try it and tell us how long it keeps, and then we'll send you a package.
You certainly could prepare the week before for
All bad.
your holiday guests come. You want to get your dough halfway ready to go, so you can just take it out and defrost it and get those pies cranked out. Go for it. Or even a couple weeks in advance, I'm sure would be just fine.
We've had some great response back from customers who just were so pleased with this whole thing after they tried it that they just had to tell us how happy they were. And I get all of those compliments and on my cell phone. So I've been reading quite a few lately, and we're just so pleased to bring you this product, and so happy that it's working so well and it's pleasing so many people. I truly hope that you all try this and that you like it as well as you can see if Matt can do it. You
Okay, great. Well, we have a few more questions here. If you guys like to answer them. We have one from Ava, who's wondering, are there any causes that you're passionate about that your brand supports, or how does Bob's Red Mill give back to the community?
Any causes? Well, absolutely. I mean, we're avid supporters of the Oregon Health and Sciences University, where we've Bob and his. It's a great story. As our company has converted a few years ago from a partnership, Bob and his business partners couple other of his business partners who are also employees here. We're moving to an employee stock ownership plan. So we're all owners of the company, and that means that we're buying, the company is buying the shares back from Bob and the partnership and distributing those to the employees. That's great. That means that Bob gets money in exchange for those shares, and what he did with that money was give it all to Oregon Health and Sciences University for research about nutrition, and particularly nutrition in the womb. And it's a really amazing science that they're doing there, and what they have found is that what you do now, it has an impact not just on your child, but also the next generation as well. And it's and it is the most critical time. Those first 1,000 days of a child's life, starting even before they're out in the world, makes such a huge difference in what OHSU is doing with the money that that Bob has given, and the company's our support with our product and everything. It's great because whole grains are such a fundamental part of proper nutrition.
Well, we've actually, the ESOP has afforded me, it bought the shares of the company from me, and it afforded my wife and me the opportunity to give a great deal of money to OHSU. But we also have established a more trust in with OSU down in Corvallis, and we've also built kitchens, several kitchens around the community. One at NCNM, the Naturopathic College here in Portland. We have one of the finest naturopath colleges in the world here, and we are continually supporting all of these organizations with money, because that's how you have to do it. And the company itself is a very generous giver to all kinds of community events. We have a handicap Olympics here, and we support that 100%. The whole thing is paid for by us. I think back again to the question about being an entrepreneur, your responsibility with success is not only your responsibility to your employees, but responsibility to the community. And my wife and I have tried very hard to respond to requests and to establish ongoing, permanent programs that to make this. Well, frankly, when my wife and I talk about it, we talk about making the world a better place. And I really, you can't paraphrase that any tighter than that. So, and it's been one of our goals in life, with our success, to try to make the world a better place, and we truly have. So, that's yes, we have done a lot with our blessings.
Yeah, the whole thing is all about health. I mean, Bob discovered stone milling from the story of called John Goffey's Mill, and in the story, the guy inherits a mill, and he makes it a personal challenge, sort of his heroic journey to restore an old turn-of-the-century water-powered mill and make it into a viable operation. He did, and that was inspiring to Bob. But the real catalyst for Bob's Red Mill, the business here, was Bob's wife, Charlie, who was reading all the, before there was such thing as, I mean, there were a few health food stores, but there really wasn't the movement. The industry was not what it is today.
1950s, I'm going to tell you, it's been a long time ago.
And she made them eat whole grains. I mean, she was a huge advocate for it, and that's what she was serving, and they got it. They all felt better, and they could see the health and what a boon that was to their family. And he combined those two things: milling, whole grains, and health, and that's been the core of the business ever since then. That's 40 years ago.
Is that better? Good enough answer?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Any more questions?
Yes, we have one from Kathy, who's wondering, in your factory, how do you keep gluten-free products separate from the ones containing gluten? What sort of processes do you go through?
I heard gluten-free.
What do we do to keep those things separate?
Well, I already mentioned the fact that our whole gluten-free operation is separate. We have a separate building, and so it's not too difficult. Matt mentioned how we go to the farmers, the rices, the corns, the various intrinsically gluten-free products. This is an incredible project that's taken place over 25 years of contracting with farmers and insisting and inspecting to make sure that the products that we're buying from them are gluten-free. It's an ongoing representative of great energy on the part of the company to ensure gluten-freeness. From our perspective, separate mills, separate building, separate packaging, everything. Nothing is crossover. Nothing is clean or vacuumed and then goes from non-gluten-free to gluten-free. We have no equipment like that, no facility like that. The gluten-free part of our company is a separate building, and it's a complete separate operation. So now but the biggest thing of all is the continual testing of the product itself. We've actually broken down all gluten-free product into 2,000-pound units. Now that sounds like a lot to maybe someone at the home level, but that's not a whole lot for us. A truckload of gluten-free rice, perhaps, has 22 2,000-pound trucks in it, or 2,000-pound totes in it, and each one of those is separated by a number and is followed through. A lot number is followed through. Each one of those has a separate sample taken from the bag and it's tested. And all of those are put on hold while this testing takes place. It's 5 hours. And when it tests okay, which obviously most everything does, then we release that to the gluten-free part of our company, and the processing of packaging, grinding, using in mixes, whatever the case may be, it goes into production. And then it's tested repeatedly, that whole process. Gluten-free is a very important project for us, and we've taken it very, very seriously. So I think that we are truly gluten-free. We have gluten-free on the bags, and any bag that shows that gluten-free has been through this entire testing. It follows that protocol religiously.
Yeah, everything is completely separate. The facilities, the packaging, the mills, the trucks, and where it's stored. It's almost a separate business unto itself.
It is a separate business.
In our facility, there's a giant, even the ventilation is dedicated just to gluten-free, just to make sure that